The head of the United Nations says Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has triggered the most massive violations of human rights in the world today. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a speech in Geneva on Monday that the invasion has unleashed widespread death, destruction, and displacement. The war has entered its second year with no end in sight. Russia has stabilized the front, and it's concentrating its efforts on capturing the rest of Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland of the Donbass. Ukraine, meanwhile, hopes to use battle tanks and other new weapons pledged by the West to launch new counteroffensives and reclaim more of the occupied territory. On Friday, Canada promised to send an additional 4 Leopard tanks to Ukraine. Well, joining us now to give us their take on this war and the global response to it is Mr. Orest Zakydalsky, Senior Policy Advisor at the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. Mr. Zakydalsky, welcome to Forum Daily, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Now, under the UCC's invitation, Canadians from coast to coast mark the one-year anniversary of this war. What stood out to you the most amid the candlelight vigils that we saw across the country?
Well, I think just the number of communities, a number of people who came out to support Ukraine and support Ukraine's defense of their country from Russia's invasion. I mean, we had vigils and events in over 50 cities and towns across Canada, with tens of thousands of people attending all over these communities, and so we are very grateful for the continued strong support, both in our Ukrainian Canadian community, but across the Canadian public as well, for Ukraine at this critical time.
A massive show of support indeed. Now, as we mentioned, we're on the war's second year. There's no end in sight. What sort of impact has the support from Western nations had in Ukraine's fight throughout this year?
Well, I think the weapons and economic aid that Canada and Western countries have sent is critical for Ukraine's defense. And now, as we approach, as we're in the second year of the war, I think, the more aid we can send and the quicker we can send it, the quicker Ukraine can win and finish this war and liberate all of Ukrainian territory from Russian occupation.
And as this war rages on, I want to jump to a Toronto Star op-ed. We saw the UCC national president say, "Let this be the last anniversary of the war." How big of a role does Canada play in helping this become a reality?
I think Canada can play and is playing a critical role, both with military support and economic support and political support, amongst other countries as well. Rallying other countries to support Ukraine is an important role for Canada, and I think we have seen Canada continue to play that role, and we would like Canada to be even stronger in supporting Ukraine and see even more military and economic aid that we can give the Ukrainians. Now is the time to do both.
As you say, we've seen over $5 billion being given by the Canadian government to help in this war effort. But what is missing in terms of Canada's support on the ground in Ukraine?
Well, what the Ukrainians really need is more ammunition for their artillery, more tanks so that they can liberate territory that's under Russian occupation, and fighter jets and air defense systems to defend the sky. Also, continued economic support is critical. So those are, I think Canada can do more in those areas, and we will be doing all we can to impress upon the government the necessity to do that as quickly as possible, so that, as our president said, let's make this the last anniversary of the war that we mark.
All right, Mr. Zakydalsky, just about a minute left here, but what about back here at home? What do we know so far about the support for Ukrainians in Canada that are fleeing the war? Are there any gaps there when it comes to helping them settle?
Well, we would very much like to see an extension of the QIT program, which is the program under which Ukrainians are coming to Canada. It's currently scheduled to end on March 31st, and we are strongly advocating to the government for the extension of that program. I would just quickly like to thank all Canadians for the way that they've opened their hearts and their homes to Ukrainians. It's over 100,000 Ukrainians have come here in the last year, and communities from coast to coast have welcomed them and continue to support them.
And it's great to see Canada still playing this role of supporting Ukraine in this war. Again, Mr. Zakydalsky, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.